Welcome, Sasha. We're so excited to have you here with us today. You're our first ever guest, and we're just really excited to have a chat with you.
I'm very, very excited for these questions, and I love what you guys are doing.
Yay! Okay, so if you didn't know about Sasha, Sasha is a extremely talented tennis player, up and coming in the New Zealand scene and around the world. We've known Sasha for years. I went to school with Sasha in middle school, and she's just, I don't know, she's definitely taken a different path to a lot of people in New Zealand. It's really cool for other people to hear about her journey. So that's why we're really excited to talk to her. And hopefully the listeners enjoy and learn a bit. Do you want to introduce yourself, or is there anything you'd like to share before we get going?
Um, what do I want to say? Well, my name's Sasha. Obviously, I know both Millie and Billy through different parts of my life, and I've played tennis for about 15 years. So it's been a long time and a very big part of my life.
If you were, just so we can learn a little bit more about you, if you were to describe yourself in one word from each of your family members' perspective, what do you think they would say?
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. From my brother's perspective, he's 23. He would say outgoing. Mom would say, these are all positive, by the way.
Love, love.
Would say, I think empathetic. And then my
That's so
dad,
nice.
I feel like he'd say resilient.
That is also lovely. When did you realize that tennis wasn't just going to be a hobby for you?
I think I realized that. I think I've actually struggled deciding which sport I wanted to play when I was younger because I played hockey, I did swimming, and then tennis. And like I loved hockey. I think I loved the team aspect. And so it was between hockey and tennis and which one I kind of wanted to specialize more in when I was, I want to say 11 or 12. And I, I feel like there was just a little bit more opportunity at the time for tennis, just as a singular sport. I think I like the idea of me being in control. So like when I'm playing a tennis match, I have the ability to do what I sort of want and switch up the game plans and whatnot. And then in a team environment, obviously, sometimes you can lose even though you've played really
Mm.
well. So like I don't know, as a kid I loved the idea of just being out there myself and doing that work. But there's obviously like pros and cons of that I've learned. I think
Yeah.
there were parts of my life where I like definitely was like, oh, I wish I just went back to school. I wish I just had like a more normal life. But
Yeah.
at this stage in my life, I'm very happy I've chosen this sort of career path and continue playing tennis as more than a hobby.
Mm. So I know you left St. Cuth's. What year were you again?
I was midway through year 10.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
tell us about that and like how that decision came about and like how you balance the social side as well as the education, also fitting in tennis as well.
So I would have been 13, just maybe 13, 14. And I
So
think,
young.
yeah, that was when I was doing
Mm.
well in New Zealand, like for the under 18s and stuff. So I was like, knowing that if you want to keep playing at that level, especially if you want to go more globally, then you have to travel. And I was already traveling within New Zealand quite a lot, so I was missing school a fair amount. But if I was going to be overseas, you're kind of over there for blocks, like of a month and however long.
Mm.
So it was necessary for me to like stop school. And that was really hard for me because I loved school. I loved my friends. I was a very like sociable person. So to do that by myself and like really commit to the tennis journey was tough, but it also enabled me to meet new people and everything and have new experiences. So when I left St. Cuth's, I did the American online schooling rather than Dakota because I was like very set up for college. I really wanted to go to a high Division 1 school, and I think I still had those goals like after I tore my ACL the first time, and I sat the SAT, and that was fine, but I just didn't really like click with it after the second ACL,
Mm.
primarily because I was in a very lucky position where a lot of my friends who were going to college were older than me, so they got to experience it before me. And a lot of them either got injured or they were transferring. Like those were the biggest issues that I saw for at least women's Division 1 tennis players. Like they always came back injured because they pushed every day, and even if they feel like a little something, the coaches continue to push them because they need them. I'm not going to bash college because I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of people, but for me personally, after enduring 2 ACLs, it was pretty high risk to go there and know that they get played back to back to back.
And also the like matches that you would be playing would not necessarily be as beneficial for your career as the
100%.
ones that you would be taking larger breaks in between to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, I think the caliber of matches there's different levels, obviously, because you're in conferences. But what I'm getting from, these futures events and like all these pro events is, I'd say personally, I think it's like allowed me to learn more and develop my tennis further. But other people would disagree and think college sets them up for that later.
Yeah, I've had similar stories with football, and I think it is a very different kind of experience. Like some people die on the hill that like college is the best years of their life, and for some it is, and then some it's completely
Yeah.
different experience.
It also
But
would depend what you want from the sport itself.
Oh, for
Like for a
sure.
lot of people, like for you two, obviously you have these very specific, extremely high goals for yourselves. But for some people, they might have that's a similar goal, but for them also like having that uni social life and getting that degree at this university might also be really high up on their priority. Let's talk injury real quick because you've mentioned your 2 ACLs, and obviously Millie's also gone through quite substantial injuries. So do you want to share with us your ACL story?
So I tore my ACL the first time in Malaysia. I was in Malaysia. It was very hot. And this was October 2021. I tore it, and it was a mission to get back with 4 flights to get home. Got home, found out, didn't really understand the severity of that because obviously I'd never had something like that before. So I was like, oh, it's just, how long is it? Just a few months. And then I found out it's like a 9 month to a year recovery, and you need a surgery. It's quite invasive. And if I'm being honest, obviously it was devastating, but I was very okay with it because I needed a break at this point. I was about, 16, and I feel like I'd been traveling heaps. Tennis had been such a part of me, and I just wanted to have like a nice little break. And so I had about 9 months to a year. I was still training a little bit, obviously a lot of rehab, and I was able to have that sort of normal teenage experience as well. So that was really nice. And then it was the day before my return to play ACL test when I was hitting with my friend, and I went to go hit a out wide forehand, and like I tore it, and I just hurt it, and I fell to the ground. It was a nasty, nasty pain, and yeah, I kind of had to go back to the surgeon. That was a really heartbreaking moment. I think I was really upset. I honestly think my mind has sort of blocked out that week or so because I can't really remember exactly what happened. I think I was in such like a sad state that my mind has like pushed it away. And I remember I had to like make an Instagram post about it, and I was so devastated. I didn't reply to anyone. And my 2 friends, Emmy and Katie, they showed up to my house, and they had a bag of like blanket, lollies, like all of these things. They just showed up. I think it was so, I don't know, caring of them. when I was in such a sad state that I didn't even realize I was in, that they came out and did that for me. So I think it brought in a lot more awareness in my life, and it just made me a little bit more resilient and determined to keep going out and get back, you know.
During that time, did you question like whether you were going to get up to the standard that you wanted, and did it make you rethink your time frame of your career at all, or like what were the main things that you learned from that, and probably the things that you found most hard during that rehab process?
I remember when I tore it the second time, this was prior to surgery, I was having a conversation with my dad, and we were deciding, like, so do I want to go through with the surgery? And that was like a yes, because I always wanted to run in my life. And then it was like, do I want to continue with tennis or not? And I remember that day, I was pretty tough. And for the past, year, I'd sort of had a more normal life. And I think I realized as well that as much as I love this normal life and my friends and the social aspect, I still really, really enjoyed tennis and competing and going out there and doing something for myself and this long journey. And part of me still loved it. So I continued with that. And I think just kept that in mind.
Like, think back to when you were talking with your dad and after that happened, like what would you say to yourself now, knowing what you've been through in that process?
I would say it's a good question. Probably keep going and just take it day by day. I think that was the biggest thing, rather than looking too far ahead or comparing my journey to someone else's. And that helped a lot, helped me get out of it.
Yeah, and you
Sorry.
mentioned the comparison part, which I think is so hard for athletes. I know I've experienced it as well, especially when you're injured. It's just like you get to see, especially in our day and age where social media is so prevalent, like it's shoved down your throat, I mean. So you see, like, you're injured, you can't do anything. It's not like you can play. You're out for this amount of time and you're just watching all your friends or competition or whatever it is, just like getting to compete every day and, I don't know, get the accolades and credit.
Exactly.
And it's just like you literally can't do anything. You're stuck on the couch, like just rehabbing. I know, like, I had a hamstring injury and similar, not the same extent, but on the last day when I was before my game, my return to play, I like retore it. It's just like heartbreak. You're like back to square one. You don't really see the end of the tunnel almost, because it's like so much longer until you get to like have that moment again. So yeah, it can feel very lonely, and I don't know, it's like a tough spot to be, but I would say the light at the end of the tunnel is like, at least for me, it was very worth it. So what we want to hear next is about your move to Melbourne and how that came about and how you're finding it, how you found it at the start, and how you've adapted to new life in Melbourne.
So it originally like stemmed from just a short visit to Melbourne, where I was joining this like tennis academy here, and I ended up really liking one of the coaches that my fitness trainer recommended. And so I was like, okay, well, this kind of works better. There wasn't a huge amount of people that I could train with in New Zealand, because I think, there's just not a whole lot going on there. So Melbourne, home of the Australian Open, it was a perfect place to sort of transition and move to. Wasn't super far away as well, and I absolutely like fell in love with the city when I was here. And yeah, it kind of kicked off from there, still working with the coach, and it's been about 3 years now. So yeah, I love working with her, and yeah, I really enjoyed the city. And so it was a pretty like clear option as like a base for my tennis.
Yeah.
Extremely far, like from Europe or something. It was just super high and very close to home, and I was able to travel
Similar people. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I really loved it, and I made friends here as well. I think that was another aspect that even my parents considered was, if I'm just here by myself, do I have friends here? Because this was year 13 where no one's transitioned for uni. So I was lucky to reconnect with a friend from New Zealand, Kate Carter, and made like a little friend group through her, and they've all been incredible, and we're very close with them now.
I finished school a little early as well. Like, I didn't do my year 13. And, like, I know for me personally, I felt so much FOMO, and, like, moving away from home, it was quite lonely. So, like, how did you deal with that?
Honestly, it was pretty chronically online. So I was very much in touch with my friends very often wherever like I was constantly just messaging them. And whenever I was back, they were super inclusive. Like they always invite regardless of the homeschooled girl joining in. But and I think like the other reason why I was able to like not have too much FOMO. And definitely the hardest part was accepting that last year 13, when you're not a part of that was really difficult because I was like, I just want to go to a ball. You know, they have all their graduation ceremonies and, you know, it looks really fun, but you can't do that. You finish school like on a random Tuesday and you should
Literally.
and you close your laptop and then that's your whole high school experience done. So that was tough. I think I sort of pushed my way into it a little bit. Like I just wanted to, if I want that experience, then like I would just be like, oh, well, maybe I should go to some of the balls when I can, like around my tennis schedule.
That's another thing we have to talk about.
We will talk about that. Like you kind of just have to keep making the effort, which is difficult because you're away a lot, but that's the only way to sort of remain connected and, you know, not have those ideas of FOMO, I'd say.
Obviously, I love my friends at home and I want to like still be connected, but it's so hard when they are living their completely different life. But I think it is important just to try and make the effort.
I just constantly keep making an effort. Otherwise, it is hard. When you're traveling, you like forget, but just staying in touch allows you to keep these friendships lasting longer.
Okay, do you know what I want to talk about? Our prom experience, well, our ball experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So Sasha and I both obviously couldn't go to a ball because we weren't enrolled in high school at that point in time. So we had to like finesse our way into a ball.
I need to understand the story.
Basically,
you finessed that.
Wanted a ball date very bad, and none of my friends were willing to take me because obviously they wanted a man. They wanted to bring a boy.
But like, why would you want to take a man anyway?
And like these boys are not going to speak to you. They're losers. Oh, kidding. I'm just bashing them because they didn't take me. But I ended up through a friend. She was able to find someone in her maths class who had a spare ticket. And so I paid her for the spare ticket. And then I was able to go to ball, which was amazing.
Yes. And I went with my good friend, Maddie Bryant. Luckily, she didn't want to take a man. So real friend.
She's a real friend. Shout out, Maddie Bryant.
Real friend.
Shout out.
Yeah, I went to year 12, year 13 ball, but
yeah.
Speaking of men, like the man I decided to take, he would always have like both years. Both years he had a like football game right before the ball, so I'd be like waiting around at the prees. Everyone's like arrives with their dates, taking photos with their dates, like oh cute, and I'm like on my phone like, can you leave yet? And he like takes his suit to the game, like showers in like the grimy changing rooms, and then like gets into his suit and like stays for like the after match meeting, and then like
priorities, gotta have the priorities.
Yeah. Great. Best. Wow.
Speaking of friends, do you have many friends within tennis? When you travel away on like tennis trips, have you had any weird or good or bad experiences?
So this is the only thing that's like very tough with tennis. You're traveling by yourself most of the time. And at least in the juniors, when you're younger, like you'd have more friends who were obviously all around your age and from different countries, and you made a lot of cool friendships through that. But when you're in the pro circuit, it's like no one's your friend. They're all like within their 20s, you know. They obviously, some of them don't speak very good English, so you know you're there for just tennis, and that is, I think that's good in a way because it means I get my social element back home or back here in Melbourne. And then when I travel, it's more like locked in.
Yikes. Okay, so what I want to know is what you do outside of tennis, Sasha, and how you like keep balance in your life and don't like let tennis consume you, because I know that can happen at times.
Okay, outside of tennis, besides university work, are we doing? Okay.
You can include that. I think that's also
Okay,
important.
that's part of my life. I go to Massey University and I'm studying a Bachelor of Business, majoring in finance, and it's very fulfilling. I think it gives me another career path and option, obviously, but I find it very interesting. So that's like the educational, academic side of me. What else do I do? I am a very social person. I always love hanging out with friends, exploring new cities. Feel like I'm always outdoors.
How was your recent trip to India, Sasha? Tell us about that.
So much fun. It was like a very beautiful experience. This was nice because we went as a team, of course, because it was like Team New Zealand and very small team of us. It's about 5 girls and then 2 coaches and a physio. And then that's like New Zealand, our like representative group. And it was a really long flight path to get there. It was a bit of a mission. I went from Melbourne to Kuala Lumpur. That's like 8 hours, and then to Mumbai, which is 5 hours, and then 4 hour drive.
What was the purpose behind your trip with New Zealand? What were you traveling to India for?
So this was for the Billie Jean King Cup, and the best way to describe that is like the tennis version of the World Cups.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
That's
that does put it into perspective.
Yeah.
To describe it for the footballers. So it's like there's different tiers and stages, and New Zealand has always been around the Group 2, Group 1 stage, which is about like 3 tiers lower than the the main stage, which is like the qualifying and whatnot. And those teams are like USA, Canada, I think Czech Republic qualified. So those are like the top tier. And then we are now in the second tier. So we've qualified up from Group 1, which has never been done before. So we were super thrilled about that.
Wow.
We love that.
That's a big moment for women's tennis in New Zealand.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we were all very happy, celebrated on the last night, had my 19th there. So that was very fun. And yeah, it was a great experience. It was really nice to have that.
Yeah. How did you find it for you personally? Because obviously you're a New Zealander, but with Indian heritage. And am I right in saying it's somewhere you'd never traveled before?
Yeah, I've never been there before.
Yeah.
So I was really excited as well because I was like, oh my gosh, this is half of me. And so I was mental and I'd say eye-opening because I would drive from Mumbai to Pune, and it was like I haven't seen that level of poverty in my life. So it was really sad to see. There were like 4 boys playing outside and they were playing cricket, but they didn't have a ball. They were playing with a water bottle. And so I've got a lot of tennis balls, so I chucked them one.
Yeah, that's great. It was crazy when you told me about that. I was like, it's fast. It's literally like just a tennis ball.
Yeah, and to them, very special.
Yeah.
Made them a little memory.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing.
So nice.
At least when you travel a lot, is like you learn to not take a lot more things for granted.
Yeah. Like there is a lot of privilege, I guess, that comes with even having the access to like what you need to be successful in sports. Obviously there are exceptions, but I know for all of us, like I'm not a professional sports player, but when I was younger, my parents would just chuck me into like any sport that I would want to play, and a lot of people wouldn't have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like we're in very fortunate positions.
Yeah.
Sports when you're growing up, because a lot of kids don't have that ability. So.
Yeah, and it makes you admire the people like that who come from those backgrounds. It's crazy how like you can get to that point, like, just through pure determination.
Do you want to tell us about like your kind of identity, and if there's anything from like the cultures in your life that have influenced like you as a player or you as a person?
That's a great question. So I'm half Indian from my mum's side, and then half Samoan through my dad's side. And my grandparents from my Samoan side immigrated from Samoa. I think it was around in the 1960s. And then my granddad on my mum's side was born here, but my grandma came from a small village in India. And so I think my parents, well, at least my dad being first, second generation, it was pretty important for him in his life to instill those sort of values that my grandma and grandpa passed from them to him. And same with my mum as well. They're both very hardworking people. So seeing them constantly work hard was very inspiring for myself. And I think it made me a lot more fortunate to be in a situation where they've, provided everything they can to give me this life that they essentially never had. So I think I always carry that with me, whether I play under the New Zealander flag or not.
So, Sasha, we would love to know what's next for you and what some future goals are, where we can see you next, and what's on the horizon for you.
I think one of my biggest goals was to be a part of the Billie Jean King Cup team. So that was really nice to have ticked it off. And we're coming up with names for the actual team. Sorry, so that's another thing that we have to work on, is because obviously everyone has All Blacks football fans. Like, there's so many names, so we're trying to come up with something. And
should we pop a brainstorm right now?
Yeah.
Sure. Got put forward. We had Black Balls. We had Smash Sisters. These were all really funny names that we obviously weren't going to go with, but it's still a discussion that we're
Work in
working
progress.
team and with other females who've been a part of the team. So we can come back to that, but that was one of my biggest goals. And then at the end of the year, it's to play ASB Classic. That's always been a big goal of mine. And to do that, I have to go through a playoff thing at the end of the year. And then at the moment, because I've been out for so long, a smaller goal would be just to get a WTA ranking soon. Hopefully this year would be good.
So obviously, for people that don't understand tennis, what does that mean in terms of for you as an individual player?
So I had a junior ranking when I was 18 and under, but then with the ACLs and stuff, obviously had a long break there. So now the main thing is for the pro circuit, you have to have a WTA ranking. That's what you see Coco Gauff and stuff, who's number 3 in the world, and Sabalenka, who's number 1 in the world. Those are the actual rankings that everyone aims for. So that will be the main goal for this year, coming out of injury.
Awesome.
So that'll be
That's so exciting.
Yes, I would love to watch you at the ASB Classic. That'd be so cool.
Don't buy tickets. Go to ASB Classic, even if I'm not playing it.
We're manifesting it.
Thank you.
And I'm bringing signs, even if you're not playing.
Just sticks.
Okay, so Sasha, as you're our first guest, we have a little thing that we'd like to start. So we want you to ask a question to our next guest. So, yeah.
And it can be anything?
Yeah. Anything.
Okay, I'm going to try to think of something not sport related. Can I ask a boring question?
Yeah, we can ask a boring question. Whatever you want.
If you had to move to another city, what city would you choose?
That is a good question.
That's a good question.
Actually, I want to hear the answers from you two as well.
Oh, it's actually a very good question.
In the future, I would like to. I've got a short-term and long-term answer. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
My short-term answer would be London, because I feel so close to London but so far away from London. And I feel like at this age, it would just be a really cool experience if I did get to have that opportunity. But long-term, I'd probably like to move back to Melbourne at some point?
I would say Sydney. Honestly, like when I lived in Sydney, that was so much fun. I loved Sydney. I also really enjoyed England. I enjoyed the culture and I liked the people and I liked the vibe of England. So maybe somewhere around there at some point.
I would choose somewhere in Spain.
I feel like that'd be so sick.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for coming on Millie and Billy No Ball. We've loved having you, and we hope you've enjoyed your time on the pod.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. I love it, and I can't wait to listen for all your episodes.
Yay.
See you
Thanks.
guys
Bye,
next time.
guys.
Bye.